Welcome to Her True Story, where every scar stitches a tale of resilience, where betrayal ignites a flame that burns brighter than pain. If you've ever felt your family's knife in your back, hit that subscribe button and drop your city in the comments. I'm Evelyn Harper, 62, a retired nurse from Charleston, South Carolina. My hands steady from decades of healing, my heart shattered by my son David's voice on an overheard Zoom call. He and his wife Laura plotted to steal my $400,000 beachfront cottage. Label me unfit and lock me in a $1,000 a month assisted living facility. But at 62, I didn't break. I vanished, unraveled a web of lies, uncovered a cursed family secret, and built a sanctuary for women like me. This is my story of heartbreak, hidden gold, and a comeback that'll leave you breathless. Stay with me, ladies. The twists will grip your soul. My name's Evelyn Harper, 62, standing on the creaking porch of my Charleston cottage. The Atlantic salty breeze tangling my silver hair, palmetto trees swaying like old friends. My home, a single story with weathered blue shutters and a wraparound porch, is worth $400,000. Its value etched in years of night shifts at the Medical University Hospital, stitching wounds, calming fevers, saving lives. My late husband Thomas, a fisherman with a laugh like crashing waves. And I bought it decades ago, our dream carved into its sandy floors. We raised our son David here, his small feet tracking sand through the kitchen, its kites soaring over Folly Beach, its red-tailed dancing in the wind. Weekends were alive with oyster roasts, Thomas teaching David to cast nets in the surf, me bandaging his scraped knees with a nurse's steady hands, my green eyes soft with love. I'd knit blankets by the porch light, the ocean's rhythm a lullaby, Thomas's stories of the sea filling the air. This cottage wasn't just walls, it was our heart, our promise to David, a haven woven with sacrifice. Thomas's heart attack swept him away like a rogue wave, leaving me alone, the cottage's quiet, a heavy tide against my chest. David, in his early 30s, was a real estate agent married to Laura, a 29-year-old interior designer with sharp eyes and a smile that never warmed. They settled in Charleston, promising to keep an eye on me. But their visits felt staged, Laura measuring my windows for new blinds, her tape measure snapping like a warning. David eyeing the deed in my desk, his fingers twitching. I brushed off the unease, craving family. My knitting needles clicking late into the night, stitching blankets to fill the silence of Thomas's absence. I'd sit on the porch, the scent of marsh grass grounding me. Memories of David's childhood, his laughter as he chased crabs, his small hands helping me knit, keeping me tethered. But one stormy afternoon, as thunder rolled over the ocean, my world splintered like driftwood. I was in my kitchen, stirring shrimp gumbo, the scent of cayenne and okra thick in the air, when I overheard David's Zoom call from his laptop left open in my living room. "Mom's too old to manage," he said, his voice cold as the Atlantic in winter. "We'll get her declared unfit, move her to assisted living, $1,000 a month, dirt cheap. The cottage's $400,000 is ours." Laura's laugh sliced like a shard of seashell. "She trusts us completely. Get Mark to fake the paperwork he's in." My heart stopped, the wooden spoon slipping from my hand, gumbo simmering unnoticed. Mark, David's friend at the county records office. They planned to steal my cottage, my sanctuary, built with my sweat-grueling 12-hour shifts, holidays spent in Urs, Thomas's dawn fishing trips to pay for David's college, his wedding. David's voice, once so soft as he begged for bedtime stories about pirates, now sneered. "In a few weeks, she'll be out, and we'll flip it for a fortune. No more humoring the old nurse." I stood frozen, the storm outside mirroring the one within, tears stinging my eyes as thunder shook the windows. I didn't confront them. Decades as a nurse taught me to stay calm under pressure, to assess before acting, to smile through chaos, patients screaming, monitors beeping, blood on my scrubs. I played the grieving widow, my green eyes hiding a hurricane. My hands steady as I poured tea for David and Laura, their smiles smug. They sent Dr. Susan Wells, a 45-year-old geriatric specialist with a crocodile tear smile, would visit with a notebook saying, "Evelyn, you seem forgetful. A facility might be best for you." I nodded, my voice soft, but my mind churned like the tide. At night, I searched Thomas's office, the scent of salt and pine anchoring me. His old fishing nets still hanging on the walls. In a locked drawer, I found a hidden $80,000 account. Thomas's gift to me and his diary hinting at a family-secreted diary buried under the cottage, tied to a curse from our ancestors. My heart swelled with his love, his foresight, my lifeline. His photo from our 20th anniversary, his arm around me on Folly Beach, tucked beside it. I called Ms. Clara Thompson, a 58-year-old lawyer with a voice like warm low country honey, who set up a new identity, Evelyn Shaw, and moved the funds offshore to a bank beyond their reach. I memorized Charleston's backstreets, driving at dawn past marshlands, the grasses whispering courage, my hands gripping the wheel. My navy dress worn to David's wedding pressed and ready for battle. My mother's sapphire ring gleaming like a beacon. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you'd give your life for, hit that subscribe button and share your story in the comments. Because, ladies, David's scheme was just the beginning. And the secrets I'd uncover would shake the very sand beneath my feet. I waited weeks, watching their moves like a heron stalking the marsh. Laura rearranged my kitchen, tossing my chipped mug's gifts from Thomas's fishing trips, saying, "Evelyn, let's declutter for your safety." David grumbled about my outdated wiring, his eyes lingering on the deed in my desk, his fingers twitching like a thief's. I smiled, pouring sweet tea, but my nights were sleepless. Replaying the Zoom call, each word a fresh wound cutting deeper than the last. Dr. Wells's visits grew frequent. Her notebook, a catalog of lies. Evelyn misplaced her pills. Evelyn forgot her appointment, building a case to declare me unfit. I let them think I was frail, my hands trembling as I handed her tea, but my mind was sharp as a scalpel, plotting my escape. Clara suggested a private investigator, Jack, a 60-year-old ex-cop with a gravelly voice, a limp from an old case, and eyes that missed nothing. "I'll find their dirt," he said, taking a copy of the Zoom recording. I handed it over, my hand steady despite the fury burning in my chest, the sapphire ring cool against my skin. I left on a rainy morning, the ocean roaring, a note on the kitchen table, visiting a friend. "Back soon. Love, Mom." I packed a duffel. Thomas's photo, his smile warm under the Folly Beach pier, my sapphire ring, and a knitted blanket I'd made for David's wedding. Its stitches a reminder of my love, now betrayed. I took a bus to Savannah, the engines hum a strange comfort as Charleston's skyline faded behind the marsh. In Savannah, I rented a room at a boarding house run by Ms. Ellen Brooks, a 65-year-old widow with a quick laugh and a garden bursting with pink azaleas, their petals vibrant against the historic district's cobblestones. "You're hiding, aren't you?" she said, her eyes gentle but piercing, her voice soft as the sea breeze. I nodded, calling myself Evelyn Shaw, my past a tide I let slip away. The room smelled of magnolia and salt, its walls painted soft yellow. A fresh start. I slept with Thomas's photo by my bed, his smile a reminder of who I fought for. The sapphire ring pinned to my jacket, its blue a spark of defiance. I found purpose at Coastal Haven, a women's shelter in Savannah's historic district, its oak-lined streets alive with Spanish moss. I sorted donations, clothes, books, toys, my hands busy, my heart stitching itself back together. I met Ms. Rachel Carter, a 48-year-old counselor with warm brown eyes and a fierce spirit, counseling women through trauma, her office filled with the scent of lavender tea. "You carry a weight, Evelyn," she said, watching me fold blankets with the precision of a nurse, my fingers tracing seams as if suturing my life. I smiled, guarding my truth. Her kindness, a balm. One afternoon, I met 10-year-old Mia, a shy girl with curly hair and a journal, her mother a survivor of abuse. Mia's trust, her small hand slipping into mine as we baked cornbread in the shelter's kitchen. Its tiles worn but warm, softened my edges. "Miss Evelyn, you're like my grandma," she said, her smile a light in my darkness, handing me a journal page with a seashell sketch, its curves delicate as the shore. We'd sit on Coastal Haven's porch, the savannah air heavy with jasmine. Her writing stories while I shared tales of Charleston's tides. Her laughter a melody mending my broken heart. Then came the first twist, sharp as a fishhook piercing skin. A note arrived at Ellen's addressed to Evelyn Shaw, no sender. Its envelope plain but heavy with intent. Thereafter, more than the cottage check, the trust. My pulse raced, my hands trembling as I held it under Elon's porch light. The azaleas swaying. The trust. I thought it was safe. Locked away by Clara. I called her, my voice low. And she dug deeper. David had forged my signature, draining $40,000 from Thomas's trust to Laura's account. The transfers hidden in small increments. They'd sold the cottage deed to Richard Vance, a developer, for $400,000, planning luxury rentals on my land. Fury surged, but fear followed, cold as the Atlantic's depths. Who sent the note? Someone knew my alias. Was I safe? I kept it from Ellen and Rachel, checking locks nightly. Avoiding Savannah's dark alleys, my sapphire ring pinned tightly, its blue a reminder to stay sharp. Mia noticed my tension, handing me another seashell sketch, its colors vivid. "You're strong, Miss Evelyn," she said, her voice soft but sure. I hugged her, tucking the drawing into my pocket. My resolve hardening like the palmettos outside. Jack called a month later, his voice low over the crackling line. "It's your brother-in-law, Paul, Thomas's brother. He knew David's plan, stayed silent, but guilt got him. He's trying to help." I confronted Paul by phone, my voice shaking from his Myrtle Beach condo, its porch creaking under his pacing. "Why didn't you warn me?" I demanded, my heart pounding like waves against the shore. He sobbed, his voice breaking. "David said you were slipping, Evelyn. I didn't know until I saw the deed transfer. Vance is Laura's uncle." My breath caught, the phone heavy in my hand. Laura's uncle. The oyster roasts, David's hugs, their promises to care for my all, a lie, a family conspiracy to strip me bare. Paul sent me Thomas's diary, found in his old desk, its leather-worn, its pages smelling of salt and thyme. I read it under my room's dim light, tears falling on the ink. "Evelyn, my heart," he wrote, "David's ambition is dangerous. If I'm gone, guard the cottage, it's your haven." Thomas had seen his greed growing, his love my guide, his words a fire in my chest. If you've uncovered a secret that broke your trust, hit that subscribe button and share your story in the comments. Because, ladies, the betrayal ran deeper than the ocean. And my fight was just beginning. Jack dug into Richard Vance, his report a bombshell that shook me to my core. Vance ran a network of fraudulent real estate deals, buying historic Charleston properties cheap through forged deeds, flipping them for millions. His name whispered in elite circles. Laura's connection explained everything David's push to renovate my cottage. Dr. Wells's visits, the forged trust withdrawals. But another twist hit like a squall. Jack found Dr. Wells wasn't a doctor, she was Vance's cousin, planted to gaslight me into believing I was unfit. Her notebook, a ledger of lies. Evelyn forgot her pills. Evelyn left the stove on. Fury burned. Recalling her fake concern, her pen scratching as she sipped tea in my living room. They'd played me, but I wasn't out. I threw myself into Coastal Haven, needing Mia's seashell sketches to stay grounded. Their soft curves a lifeline against the storm. One evening, as we baked cornbread, the scent of butter and corn warm in the shelter's kitchen, Mia said, "Miss Evelyn, you're my hero." My heart swelled. Her words a balm, but fear lingered like a shadow. Was Mia safe? I locked my door nightly, Thomas's diary close. His words, my armor against the darkness, Jack called, his voice urgent over the static. Evelyn Vance's men are in Savannah, asking for Evelyn Shaw. My stomach dropped, the phone cold in my hand. How did they know? I thought of Paul's slip he'd mentioned my alias to a friend tied to Vance. a gossip in Myrtle Beach's church circles. I confronted him, rage in my voice, the line crackling with tension. "Who did you tell?" he cried, swearing it was an accident. "I didn't know Evelyn. I mentioned you to a friend. She must have told Vance's people." I hung up, trust fraying like old fishing nets, my heart heavy as a stone. Was Paul a pawn or a traitor? I moved the offshore funds to a new account, untraceable with Clara's help. My fingers trembling as I signed the papers in her Charleston office, the air thick with coffee and resolve. I told Rachel part of the truth. She deserved to know why I was jumpy. My eyes darting to every shadow on Savannah's cobblestone streets. "We're your family now, Evelyn," she said, her hand warm on mine, her eyes fierce as a storm. She introduced me to Diane, a 50-year-old lawyer at Coastal Haven who'd survived fraud herself. Her glasses perched on her nose as she pored over Jack's evidence bank transfers. Emails, a recording of Laura boasting in a bar. Her voice smug, "The old lady's out and the cottage is ours." The next twist was a gut punch that left me breathless. Jack uncovered a letter in Thomas's files. Hidden in a locked drawer, David wasn't my biological son. Adopted after a miscarriage I'd buried deep. A pain so raw I'd never spoken of it, not even to Thomas, until years later. He'd raised David as his own, never telling him his love as steady as the tides despite the truth. Was this why he protected the cottage? I drove to Paul's, hands trembling on the wheel, the Myrtle Beach sunset painting the sky crimson. "Did you know?" I asked, standing on his porch, the air heavy with salt and regret. He nodded, tears falling, his hands twisting a handkerchief. "Thomas told me, Evelyn. He loved David like his own, but saw his ambition turning dark. He wanted you safe, said the cottage was your haven." My mind spun, my knees weak. I sank onto his porch swing, the creek echoing my grief, the ocean's roar in the distance a mirror of my turmoil. David's betrayal wasn't just greedy, stemmed from a secret he didn't know, a truth Thomas carried to his grave. Had my silence poisoned him? I drove back to Savannah, the road blurring through tears. Thomas's diary on the seat, his love both a weight and a guide. I vowed to fight for Thomas, for me, for the cottage we'd built with our hands and hearts. Diane found a flaw in the deed sale. It lacked proper signatures, a crack in their plan we could exploit. I returned to Charleston, staying with Ms. Grace Miller, 60-year-old librarian and church friend whose home smelled of old books and jasmine, its warmth a refuge. Grace helped me access county records, her hands steady as we sifted through files, proving Laura's forgery with Mark, a clerk tied to Vance's network. We had them. I spent nights in Grace's guest room, poring over records by lamplight, my fingers tracing Thomas's handwriting in his diary, his love a fire in my chest. I walked Charleston's Battery, the ocean breeze sharp, the historic mansions looming like silent witnesses, my sapphire ring gleaming, my navy dress a symbol of my fight. I wasn't the nurse widow anymore. I was Evelyn Harper, unyielding, my heart a lighthouse in the storm. If you fought for what's yours against all odds, share your story in the comments and hit subscribe. Because, ladies, the battle for my cottage was about to turn upside down, and the secrets beneath it would change everything. Grace's kitchen was warm with the scent of coffee and courage, the jasmine from her garden drifting through the open window as I planned with Diane. She arranged a meeting with Judge Margaret Lee, a 59-year-old with silver hair and a reputation for fairness in Charleston's courts, her eyes sharp behind glasses. We met in a quiet cafe on King Street, the clink of porcelain cups grounding me as Margaret scanned Jack's evidence-forged signatures, bank transfers, Mark's ties to Vance Evelyn. "This is strong," she said, sipping tea, her voice steady as the tide. "But Vance has deep roots in Charleston's elite. Brace for a dirty fight." I nodded, my hands steady despite the fear curling in my gut like a coiled rope. Back at Grace's, I reread Thomas's diary. His words guard the cottage, fueling me like a hearth fire. Why hadn't he told me about David's adoption? Was he shielding me, or David? I walked Grace's garden, her jasmine vines mirroring the ones at my cottage. Their scent a reminder of my strength, their petals soft against my fingers as I planned my next move. Then came a twist that shook me to my core, like a wave crashing over the shore. Jack called, his voice grim over the crackling line. "Evelyn, there's a lien on your cottage, $150,000 tied to a loan Thomas never mentioned." A loan? Thomas, so meticulous with every penny from his fishing hauls, borrowing in secret. My heart sank, my hands clutching the phone. Jack found it was through Vance's firm, signed before Thomas's death, buried in obscure county records. Had he been coerced? In Grace's attic, I found Thomas's locked box, its key hidden in a drawer, revealing a note in his tight scrawl. "Vance is blackmailing me over David's adoption." I signed to protect him. Evelyn must never know. My breath caught, the attic's dust settling around me like ash. Thomas had been blackmailed to save David's secret, sacrificing our cottage's future to shield him from Vance's threats. I sat on the attic floor, the box heavy in my lap, grief and rage colliding like a storm at sea. Thomas had carried this burden alone, his love my shield, at a terrible cost. I confronted Paul, my voice raw, the Myrtle Beach air thick with humidity and regret. "Did you know about the loan?" I demanded, standing on his porch, the swing creaking under my weight. He nodded, sobbing, his hands twisting his handkerchief. "Thomas said Vance had proof of David's adoption. Said he'd ruin David unless Thomas signed the lien. I begged him to tell you, Evelyn, but he said it'd break your heart." I sank onto the swing, the weight of Thomas's sacrifice crushing me, the scent of salt and pine suffocating. Another twist hit like a breaker. Diane called, her voice frantic. "Vance is countersuing, claiming you abandoned the cottage. Making the sale legal. Dr. Wells is testifying you were unstable, backed by a doctor on Vance's payroll." My blood ran cold. Dr. Wells's lies, bolstered by Vance's money, were a noose tightening around my neck. Diane pushed for a deposition, but I needed more. I told Jack to tail Dr. Wells, and he found her in a luxury condo paid by Vance, meeting Mark, their laughter drifting through an open window as they toasted their easy job. I confronted Dr. Wells at a Savannah diner, the air thick with espresso and sea salt. Her face paling as I leaned in, my voice sharp as a scalpel. "Tell me why you lied, or Vance, here's your talking," said. My eyes locked on hers, my sapphire ring glinting under the diner's lights. She stammered, her hands shaking. "It was just a job, Evelyn. Vance said you were a burden, too old to manage. A burden." My hands clenched, remembering her fake concern, her notes about my confusion as she sipped tea in my living room. She clammed up, her eyes darting to the door. But I'd rattled her cage. That night, Jack sent a recording Dr. Wells admitting the forgery to Mark. Her voice smugged. "The cottage's land has something Vance wants. Something." My mind raced, my hands clutching Thomas's diary in Ellen's boarding house. The sea breeze sharp through the window, the pages heavy with secrets. Thomas had mentioned a family diary buried under the cottage, with maps to sunken pirate gold off Folly Beach, a legend of Blackbeard's treasure whispered in our family for generations. Was that Vance's true prize? I sat in the dim light, piecing it together, the diary's leather cool under my fingers. The cottage wasn't just my legacy at a secret Vance would kill to possess. If you've uncovered a secret that turned your fight into a war, share it in the comments and hit subscribe. Because, ladies, my cottage held more than memories, and I was walking into a trap set by greed and history. The Charleston sky was gray, heavy with rain as I stood outside my cottage. Its blue shutters faded but proud. The ocean's roar a steady pulse in my ears. Dr. Wells's words echoed. "The cottage's land has something Vance wants." Thomas's diary hinted at a family diary from the 1700s, buried in a cellar vault with maps to pirate gold Blackbeard's treasure. A legend my grandfather told by the fire, his eyes glinting with mischief. Thomas thought it a myth, a story to entertain David on stormy nights. But what if Vance believed it? Jack found Vance had bought coastal properties across the Carolinas. often digging for relics, letters, artifacts, anything to sell to collectors for millions. He's obsessed, Jack said, his voice low over the phone. That diary could be his golden ticket. I spent nights poring over Thomas's notes, the lamplight casting long shadows, my fingers tracing his words, the scent of old paper grounding me. The vault was real, and Vance wanted it not for luxury rentals, but for treasure that could cement his legacy among Charleston's elite. I needed proof, my heart pounding like waves against the shore. With Grace's help, I accessed Charleston's archives in the old library. Its air cool and musty, its shelves heavy with history. We found a faded ledger mentioning a Harper vault under my cottage, noting a diary of value from 1718. Tied to a shipwreck off Folly Beach, my pulse raced, my fingers trembling as I copied the page, the ink smudged but clear. Was this Vance's target? I told Diane, who warned, if Vance wants it, he'll play dirtier than you can imagine. I snuck into the cottage at midnight, the scent of salt and marsh grass lingering, my flashlight trembling as I reached the cellar, its stone walls damp and cold. Under a loose slab, I saw fresh dirt someone had dug recently, shovel marks glinting in the light. Vance's men. My breath hitched. Memories of David's childhood flooding back his sandy feet, running through this cellar. His laughter as we played pirates, now plotting to bury me. I retreated, heart pounding, the night alive with danger. My sapphire ring pinned tightly. Its blew a beacon in the dark. Jack called, his voice urgent. Evelyn, get out of Savannah. Vance's men followed you. My stomach dropped, the phone heavy in my hand. How? I remembered Paul's friend, the church gossip she'd talked. I confronted Paul, fury in my voice, the line crackling. Who did you tell? He sobbed, his voice breaking. I didn't know, Evelyn. I mentioned you to a friend she must have told Vance's people. I'm so sorry. I hung up, trust fraying like a worn net, my heart heavy as driftwood. Was Paul a pawn or a traitor? I moved to a motel, cash only, the room smelling of bleach and desperation. My sapphire ring, my anchor, its blue gleaming in the dim light. Diane filed to void the sale, citing the improper deed, her voice steady as she drafted papers in her Charleston office. Vance's countersuit was fierce, Dr. Wells's lies painting me as senile. Backed by a corrupt doctor, Dr. Miles, whose signature appeared on fake reports. Then Mia called, her voice shaking, small and scared. Miss Evelyn, a man with a scar asked for you at Coastal Haven. My blood ran cold, my hands trembling as I gripped the phone. Jack confirmed it was Mark, his scar a jagged line across his cheek. He was hunting me, and Mia was at risk. I moved Mia and her mother to a safe house, a small cottage Rachel arranged, its walls lined with books, its air warm with safety. I sat with Mia, her seashell sketches in my lap. Promising you're safe, sweetheart, my voice steady despite the fear clawing my chest. Her drawing tucked into my pocket, its curves a reminder of my fight. I baited Vance, leaking a story to a local paper, Harper Cottage hides pirate treasure. He wanted the diary, he'd act, his greed, his undoing. Jack spotted his men digging at night, their shovels glinting under streetlights, their shadows long and menacing. We tipped the police, who caught them trespassing. Their tools scattered across my lawn, but Vance's lawyers freed them fast, their influence a dark cloud over Charleston. Still, it bolstered our case. Diane, arguing Vance's actions, voided the sale, her voice fierce in court filings. I walked Charleston's battery, the ocean's waves reflecting my resolve, its current steady as my navy dress, a symbol of my fight. I wasn't the nurse widow anymore. I was Evelyn Harper. Unyielding, my hands steady as I pinned my sapphire ring. Its weight my strength. The hardest twist came from Grace. Her voice soft but urgent over tea in her kitchen. She found a letter in Thomas's files, addressed to me, never sent. Its paper yellowed, its ink faded but clear. Evelyn, if I'm gone, David's changed. The vault's real, not just maps, but letters tying Vance's family to colonial fraud and a curse on our line. Destroy them if you must. My mind reeled, my hands trembling as I read by lamplight the jasmine scent drifting through Grace's window. Thomas had known letters exposing Vance's ancestors as land thieves, and a family curse tied to the pirate gold said to doom those who sought it. Was this why he'd been blackmailed? I sat in Grace's garden, her jasmine swaying, the letter heavy in my hands, my tears watering the earth like rain. Thomas's love had been my shield, but it had cost him everything. Silence, a sacrifice I'd never known. Another twist hit, sharp and unexpected, like a wave breaking over rocks. Jack uncovered a broader conspiracy. Vance's network wasn't just real estate. It included a coastal smuggling ring, moving artifacts through Charleston's ports, with a mayor, Ms. Catherine Holt, a banker, Mr. Edward Lang, and a local judge, Mr. Robert Tate, profiting from stolen properties and relics. My cottage was one of many, their victims elderly widows like me, their homes stripped under the guise of development. Jack found emails linking Holt to Vance, discussing the Harper property and its hidden value. My heart sank. My betrayal wasn't just personal. It was part of a criminal empire rotting Charleston's core. I met Diane at the cafe, her eyes wide as she read Jack's report, her coffee untouched. "Evelyn, this is bigger than we thought. We're not just fighting Vance, we're up against Charleston's power structure." My hands clenched, but fear gave way to fire, my sapphire ring glinting like a star. I'd been a nurse, a widow, a mother, but now I was a warrior. My navy dress, my armor, my heart a beacon in the storm. If you've held a secret that could ruin everything, share your story in the comments and hit subscribe. Because, ladies, I was about to step into Vance's trap, and it would test me like never before. Rain poured over Charleston, the ocean a restless giant, as I clutched Thomas's letter, its words about colonial fraud and a family curse burning in my mind. Thomas had known letters tying Vance's ancestors to stolen land, and a curse said to haunt those who chased the pirate gold, a shadow cast over our family for generations. I told Jack, who cursed, his voice low, "Evelyn, this is bigger than a cottage. Vance's legacy is his power. Those letters would end him, and the curse fuels his obsession. We had to find the vault before Vance, but the cottage was his, guarded by his men, their eyes sharp as gulls over the shore. Diane filed an injunction to freeze the property, citing the trespassing, her hand steady as she signed the papers. It worked, halting Vance's digging, but it painted a target on my back. My name whispered in Charleston's shadows like a warning. I moved to a safe house. Rachel arranged a small apartment smelling of fresh paint and hope. My sapphire ring pinned to my jacket, its blue gleaming like a lighthouse dot at midnight. My burner phone rang, the sound jarring in the quiet. "Evelyn Shaw," a voice growled, low and menacing. "Stop, or Mia pays." It was Mark, his scar a mark of his menace, his threat chilling me to the bone. I called Rachel, my voice shaking, and she confirmed Mia was safe. But Coastal Haven was vandalized. A note scrawled in red ink, "Back off." My heart raced, guilt tearing at me. Had I put Mia in danger? I moved Mia and her mother to another safe house, a cottage with ivy-covered walls, its air warm with safety. I sat with Mia, her seashell sketches in my lap, her small hand in mine. "You're safe, sweetheart, I promised." My voice steady despite the fear clawing my chest, her drawing tucked into my pocket, its curves a reminder of my purpose. I spent nights pacing Thomas's diary close. His words, my anchor against the storm. Doc Jack had a plan: infiltrate the cottage. He knew a gardener, Sam, a 55-year-old loyal to Thomas, fired by Vance, his hands rough from years of tending my marsh grasses. Sam met us in a Charleston cafe, the scent of coffee grounding us, his eyes wary but kind. "There's a cellar tunnel," he whispered, his voice low. "Thomas showed me, said it was for emergencies." My pulse raced, my hands trembling with hope. The vault was there, hidden beneath my home. We planned to break in at midnight, the moon hidden by clouds, the air thick with rain. Diane protested, her voice sharp. "Evelyn, You're 62, not a spy. But I couldn't stop my heart pounding with purpose. Thomas's legacy, my cottage, was at stake. I prepared, my navy dress pressed, my sapphire ring gleaming, ready for battle. My hands steady as I tied my scarf, its silk a whisper of strength. The night was dark, rain soaking us as Sam led us through a marshy alley. The cottage looming like a ghost, its blue shutters pale in the storm. The tunnel smelled of damp earth, its walls slick. My flashlight shaking as we reached the cellar, its stone floor cold under my boots. There was the vault here, locked, heavy with secrets, its surface rusted but unyielding. We pried it open, the hinges groaning like a warning, revealing a leather-bound diary and a stack of letters yellowed with age, their ink faded but legible. My heart raced, my hands trembling as I touched them. Thomas's words echoing guard the cottage. But headlights flashed outside, their beams cutting through the dark Vance's men. "Run!" Sam hissed, his voice urgent. We grabbed the vault, scrambling through the tunnel, boots pounding behind us, their shouts echoing in the dark. My breath was ragged, the diary clutched to my chest, my sapphire ring digging into my skin, a reminder to keep moving. We escaped, hiding the vault in Grace's shed, its door locked tight. My heart pounding as we caught our breath, the rain a curtain outside. The next twist hit like a thunderbolt, crashing through my resolve. The letters named David's biological mother, a woman tied to Vance's family, dead in obscurity. Her name a stain on Charleston's history. Thomas had protected David, but Vance used it to control him. His leverage a blade held over David's heart. I confronted David in a Charleston park, the palmettos swaying, his face pale, Laura gone, his absence a shadow between us. "Did you know?" I asked, showing the letters, my voice steady but raw. He sobbed, his hands trembling, his eyes once so like Thomas's hollow with regret. "I found out months ago, Mom. Vance promised the cottage if I helped. I didn't know about the vault, I swear." My heart ached for my boy, his tears real but too late, his betrayal a wound too deep to heal. I walked away, the park's grass soft under my boots, my resolve hardening like the palmettos around me. David had chosen greed over love, and I couldn't save him from himself. Diane used the letters to threaten Vance's legacy. Her voice steady in court, her glasses glinting as she held the diary aloft. "These expose your family's fraud," she said, her words sharp as a needle. Vance settled, returning the deed, his face ashen, his empire crumbling. Paul confessed he'd been blackmailed by Vance, forced to spy, his voice breaking over the phone. "He threatened my kids, Evelyn," he sobbed, his guilt a mirror of my own for trusting too long. I forgave him, my heart heavy but open, his tears a step toward redemption. But another twist emerged, sharp as a reef. Jack found evidence of a coastal smuggling ring tied to Vance's network, moving artifacts through Charleston's ports with Mayor Holt, Banker Lang, and Judge Tate profiting. My cottage was one of many, their victims elderly widows like me, their homes stolen for relics and profit. I met with Lang's assistant, Emily, a 42-year-old whistleblower who'd seen the deals, her hands trembling as she handed me emails. "I couldn't stay silent, Evelyn," she said, her voice low. "They targeted you for the vault." My heart raced. This wasn't just about me. It was a fight for Charleston's soul. If you faced a betrayal that shook your world, share your story in the comments and hit subscribe. Because, ladies, I was about to turn their trap into my triumph. And the curse would test us all. The sun rose over my cottage, its blue shutters gleaming again. The ocean's song a promise of renewal. I turned it into Harper Haven, using my $80,000 to create a shelter beds, knitting rooms, art studios, a kitchen filled with the scent of cornbread. Mia, now 12, painted seashell murals, her joy a light in my dark, her sketches adorning the walls. I led knitting workshops, my hands guiding women to stitch their lives back together. Their stories echoing my mother's, betrayed, widows discarded, their strength rising like the tide. In court I testified, my voice steady, Mia's seashell sketch in my pocket, its colors a symbol of truth. Dr. Wells's lies collapsed when Rachel exposed her fraud. Her testimony crumbling under Diane's cross-examination, her face pale as the truth spilled out. Judge Lee ruled for me, restoring the cottage, issuing a restraining order against David and Laura, their faces falling, their tears empty. Vance's network unraveled. Holt resigning, Lang audited, Tate recusing himself. Their greed exposed in the local papers, headlines screaming. Charleston's elite caught in smuggling scandal. Harper Haven thrived. Its halls filled with laughter, the scent of jasmine drifting through open windows. Mia taught art, her sketches a burst of color, her laughter a melody. Rachel expanded counseling, her warmth a beacon for broken hearts. Women found refuge, their stories weaving a tapestry of resilience, their hands learning to knit, to paint, to heal. David, broke and alone, begged for a job, his eyes hollow as he stood at my door. I hired him as a groundskeeper, shocked my quiet victory as he swept porches he'd tried to steal, his silence heavy under my gaze. Paul sought redemption, volunteering at Harper Haven, his hands planting flowers, his eyes meeting mine with quiet regret. "I'm trying, Evelyn," he said, his voice soft. I nodded, forgiving but not forgetting, his presence a step toward healing. Laura appeared one evening, her eyes empty, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry, Evelyn," she whispered, her hands empty. I turned away, my silence louder, the door closing with a soft click. But the curse lingered. A shadow over Harper Haven. Emily, the whistleblower, revealed a ledger from Lang's office, naming other widows targeted by Vance's ring, Ms. Lillian Cole, 68, who lost her marshfront home. Ms. Sarah Jane, 70, whose bungalow was sold. Ms. Ruth Parker, 65, evicted by her niece. We formed a coalition, our hands joined, our stories a chorus of defiance. With Diane's help, we filed a class action suit exposing Vance's empire, recovering $1.5 million for 10 women, their homes restored, their dignity reclaimed. The papers called us the Coastal Widows, our faces on the front page. Our navy dresses mine, leading the charge a symbol of resistance. Lillian hugged me, her hands rough from gardening, her eyes bright. "You gave us our lives back, Evelyn," she said, her voice thick. I smiled, my heart full, my sapphire ring gleaming like the sea dot. Another layer unfolded, a twist that tested my resolve. Jack uncovered a local legend tied to the vault's diarrhea curse that struck those who sought the pirate gold. From shipwrecks to betrayals, taunting our family since the 1700s. My great-grandmother had spoken of it, her voice low by the fire, warning of greed's cost. Was this why Thomas hid the truth? I met with Ms. Clara Bell, a 72-year-old historian at Charleston's museum, who confirmed the curses lure families torn apart, fortunes lost. "Your cottage was a target for more than gold," she said, her eyes grave. Vance believed it held power. I sat with her, the diary in my hands, its pages heavy with history, my heart racing. Did the curse drive David's greed? I buried the diary deeper, vowing to protect Harper Haven from its shadow. My hands steady as I knitted a blanket, its stitches a promise of peace. *1 quiet evening. As I knitted in Harper Haven's studio, the air warm with yarn and hope, Mia ran in, her curls bouncing. A new sketch in her hands, a seashell shore with a woman in a navy dress, strong and unbowed. "It's you, Miss Evelyn," she said, her smile wide as the ocean. I hugged her, tears in my eyes, her sketch a mirror of my journey. Rachel joined us, her counseling notes tucked away, her laughter blending with ours. "You've built a home, Evelyn," she said, her hand on my shoulder. I nodded, the weight of my sapphire ring a reminder of my strength. My cottage no longer just a house, but a beacon for the broken. If you've turned pain into power, subscribe and share your story in the comments. Where are you watching from? Did Evelyn's journey move you? Drop a super thanks to keep these stories coming and check 2 new tales on the screen. There's more on her true story. Don't forget to subscribe. With love and respect. See you in the next life story.